When you think about the biggest names in electric cars, you probably think of companies like Tesla, maybe Ford, or Volkswagen. But another company has, well, it's quietly and then very, very loudly jumped right to the top of the pack. We're talking about BYD. And this is the incredible story of how a small company that just made batteries built an EV empire that's now shaking up the entire auto industry.
So yeah, that's the big question, right? How on earth does a company that got its start making rechargeable batteries for old Motorola phones become the #1 seller of EVs in the world? It's a wild story, and it all comes down to some seriously bold bets, big ambition, and just relentless innovation.
Okay, just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about here, get this. In just the first 11 months of 2025, BYD delivered 4.18 million new energy vehicles. I mean, that number is just staggering. It really shows you how completely dominant they've become. So let's hit rewind and figure out how they got here.
You know, every massive company has an origin story, and BYD's is pretty cool. It doesn't start in some giant car factory. Nope. It starts in a small battery workshop, founded with about $500,000 and one very, very big dream.
The speed at which they evolved is just something else. So they start up in 1995. Within just a few years, they're already supplying batteries to huge players like Motorola. But the real game changer? That came in 2003, when they went out and bought an entire car company. It was this huge, risky move that eventually led to their very first plug-in hybrid in 2008, a car that was basically a preview of everything that was about to happen.
So that early hybrid car was really just the opening act. The next chapter in BYD's story is all about two absolutely critical moments that basically launched them into a whole different stratosphere of EV dominance. The first big moment happened back in 2008. The legendary investor Warren Buffett and his company Berkshire Hathaway put their money into BYD. And look, this wasn't just about the cash. It was a massive vote of confidence from one of the most respected investors in the world. It put BYD on the global map, overnight.
And then came the second move in 2022, which was even bolder. BYD did something almost no one in the industry thought was possible. They just stopped. They completely stopped making cars that only ran on gasoline. From that day forward, every single vehicle rolling off their line would be either a plug-in hybrid or a full EV. They basically burned the boats and went all in on electric.
So what happens when you bet the entire company on the future like that? Well, for BYD, it lit a fire under their growth that has been absolutely breathtaking to watch.
By late 2024, the company hit this huge milestone, 10 million new energy vehicles produced. I mean, that's an incredible achievement. But honestly, what happened next is the part that's truly mind-blowing.
Just think about that for a second. It took them over a decade to build their first 10 million vehicles. And then, in just a little over 1 year, they hit 15 million. That's 5 million more cars in just 13 months. The speed, the sheer acceleration, it completely redrew the map of the global EV industry.
And hitting that 15 million mark meant that BYD had officially produced more new energy vehicles than giants like Tesla and Volkswagen combined. They weren't just another competitor anymore. They'd become the benchmark.
And this crazy growth isn't just happening in China. Oh no, BYD is a global powerhouse now. They're selling cars in over 119 countries, and they're building new factories everywhere from Brazil to Hungary to keep up with the insane demand.
So, you have to ask, how? This kind of explosive growth just doesn't happen by accident. It's all powered by a core business strategy and a crazy commitment to technology that gives them a massive, massive advantage. So what's the big secret? It's a simple but powerful idea called vertical integration. Basically, while other car companies are scrambling to get parts from 100 different suppliers, BYD decided a long time ago to control its own destiny by making pretty much everything themselves. And when I say everything, I mean it. They make their own batteries, remember that's where they started, their own electric motors, all the complex electronics, even the chassis of the car. Having that much control gives them incredible speed and makes them way more efficient.
And to make sure all this in-house tech is the best, they invest a ton of money into research and development. We're talking over $6.7 billion in just 2024 and 2025 alone. They aren't just putting cars together, they're inventing the future that powers them.
So what do you get when you combine total control over every part of your car with a massive R&D budget? You get game-changing breakthroughs that nobody else can match.
Just look at their flash charging technology. You plug in your car, you wait 5 minutes, about the same time it takes to fill up with gas, and you've just added 400 kilometers of range. That's the kind of innovation that's only possible when you control everything from the battery chemistry to the charging port.
So, from that tiny battery workshop to a global automotive juggernaut, BYD's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. But what's really amazing is that their empire is so much bigger than just cars.
Their vision is huge. They're a massive player in electric public transit, with buses and even monorails all over the world. They're developing electric trucks for logistics. They're even creating these huge integrated energy systems to power a more sustainable future.
And in the end, it all comes back to their name, Build Your Dreams. What probably sounded like a kind of cheesy slogan back in 1995 has turned out to be a literal description of their entire journey. They dreamed of a future powered by batteries, and then, piece by piece, they went out and built it.
And all of this leaves us with one final massive question. As all the old-school automakers struggle to adapt, and even newer startups face these supply chain nightmares, has BYD accidentally created the new blueprint for how to succeed in the car business? The whole world is watching to find out.